Hello there, Alan speaking here, and this is my Street Fighter 2 random stories video for the Super Nintendo. And again, it's not a review, it's just my personal experiences along the way playing Street Fighter in an arcade in Angel, Upper Street, London, where I first played Street Fighter 2. I just started watching martial art movies with Bruce Lee to start that got me into them, and who could not be into martial art movies after watching Bruce Lee? Any kind of fight really. I love Bruce Lee, but I also liked watching any, including Van Damme at the time. I loved it that they were having street fights, kind of like on the game, yeah. I always imagined him in Street Fighter. Isn't it ironic that he played Guile later on in the great Street Fighter movie? Oh, and when I said great, I was doing a hand gesture at the time, only you can't see it. Karate Kid made every little boy want to do karate. I was a little boy at this point and did karate during this time, so I loved anything with martial art. Kick him in the face. To this day it gives me cold tingles. Anyway, coming home from karate one time, my dad picked me up, and he was a Street Fighter fan anyway, and said we got a surprise at home. And I couldn't believe to find it was Street Fighter 2 Turbo. It came in a bundle box with the SNES, and I was so shocked. And I thought, Street Fighter 2? This is Street Fighter 2 Turbo, motherfucker. And I was really happy that I had it. I stuck it on straight away to notice it was very fast and great. I loved it so much, and I spent the whole evening playing it with my brother and sister. The first version of Street Fighter 2 I actually ever played was Street Fighter 2 World Warrior. I never played the SNES version of that at the time, but I knew it existed. So when I saw we had the new Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I think it was something that was new at the time, so you can imagine my excitement. Now, as a gamer in general, I could see the characters, and to this day I always, even back then, knew they didn't look as good as they did in the arcade. And Chun-Li there in her alternate outfit that she has in Champion Edition. Now, there was a Champion Edition at the arcades I played at, but it cost more to play. I think this one was £1 for 3 credits. So you can imagine the amount of money I was spending playing this game every weekend in this arcade that we went back to. Sure, chip shops and local cafes had it, and even my school had an arcade cabinet with Street Fighter on it, but it wasn't as good as having it in your own home. I took it everywhere, I played it everywhere, every day, with everyone, and I'm still up to the challenge. Anyway, I noticed when I got this game there was more characters. I couldn't believe you could play as the boss characters. Now, I'm not going to go through every character, so I'm just going to start as Ken, and I'm going to talk a bit about the characters that I fight, which first being Blanka. Now, I didn't know what he was at the time until I completed the game and found out he was a lost boy in a plane crash called Jimmy. I was really shocked about that at the time, because I really didn't think there was any human presence whatsoever, so I was really happy to know that he had a life, especially after you complete it. And wasn't that a good thing about this game? There was little words afterwards, they would say something, little phrases. Every character had a personality and an ending. Oh, and by the way, let me just stop here. Guile's theme goes with anything. Just listen. Although true, I'm waffling on, but I got a lot to say about it. I had this VHS tape that come with a magazine that showed you how to play the game. And I must have watched it 1,000 times. It's nice knowing it's actually on YouTube and I wasn't the only person who watched it. I got a lot of tips from this video, and still to this day watching it taught me a few other things that I didn't know, so that's always good. I actually always pictured myself making a video like this. I started making videos at an early age of the Street Fighter gameplay and how I played it, but they never saw the light of day. Anyway, on to Guile. He was one of my favourite characters at the time. Ryu and Ken, obviously, but having Guile, this military guy, some brush haircut, and you knew he was strong. He looked tough and he had some great moves. Flash kick being one of them, or should I say somersault kick. And then on to Ken. So I'll be fighting myself. Ken was always vicious in the sense that he was very fast, and I was always worried playing him because I knew that dragon punches and hurricane kicks would finish me off. But throughout the years I've played it and I've gotten a lot better, and I still like playing it now just to see how I can play it on hard and different modes. And the bonus stages in this game, there was nothing like this. I know there was in Final Fight, but where you broke a car, bricks, and eventually even barrels. The hardest stage, yeah, I messed up during this point actually, but I did it before recording this when I was doing a playthrough of Ryu. Then on to China, the only female character on this game at the time, and not a lot of people used her, seeing as she was a woman. They sort of thought that she wouldn't be as good, but later on, if you decided to play as her, she was deadly. She was one of the fastest characters on the game and could surprise anyone that didn't know how to use her. And I say that because I didn't know how to use her, and I was just throwing a load of light kicks and ended up doing the 100-foot kick to slaughter people really quickly. Spinning bird kick when they was dazed around. So many combos, so many good times. People's least favourite character, Zangief. Now people use him and exploit his moves online on Street Fighter 4. Now at the time, not many people played as him, but playing against him on the arcade mode, he was so hard because he could pretty much grab you out of any move and destroy your chain of combos or whatever you was doing, which was always surprising. That spinning power driver just took you out. Then on to India. Again, Dao Sim had so many moves, probably more moves than anyone in the game when it comes to the turbo version, as he could teleport, Yoga Flame and Yoga Fire, and do a lot of somersault moves, and he also had that advantage of the long stretchy arms and legs. Again, he was a character that wasn't favoured by many, like Chun-Li and Zangief, at the time anyway I'm talking about, not now, as there's a cult following to any character, and no one likes insulting them. Then on to Japan, Ryu. It was always great to fight each other, Ryu and Ken. It was like a match made in heaven. They pretty much played exactly the same, only a few different moves, and it was meant that Ken had a stronger Dragon Punch and Ryu had the Hadokens or Cyclone Punch or whatever the fuck they're called. I mean, there was different versions of this stage. When I played it on Street Fighter 2 World Warrior, I was surprised there wasn't them Japanese symbols either side. They took that out after Street Fighter 2. Then to Japan again, fighting E Honda, a Sumo wrestler, and he is tough. His 100-hand slap is devastating, and he can pretty much get you out of the air every time with his long reach. You wouldn't think it, but he's very fast and quite agile for someone so big. You can pretty much sweep him whenever he jumps over your fireballs. And look at that golden fireball, did you see that just there? There was myths going around when I was a kid that fireball could go through your block and kill you instantly. We used to see some of them come out rarely, but when they did come out they usually missed or someone jumped over them, so a myth nonetheless. Then on to the 4 boss characters, first being Balrog, which started out Mike Bison, but due to Capcom getting worried about copyright reasons they changed the name because he was based extremely on Mike Tyson. You can see that, and throughout the years they've gave him his own character, so he doesn't really need Mike Tyson's influence anymore, which is good I guess. And I'm kind of used to him being called Balrog. I know because of the western version of the film and even the Legend of Chun-Li or whatever that great film was called. Again, hand gestures on the word great. He's called Balrog. Then on to Spain, Vega. And in Street Fighter 2 he was one of the hardest people to beat. It used to take so long. He was just so quick and he could seem to jump kick you no matter what you did. I mean, I'm only showing one round of each match because otherwise we'd be here all day, and I didn't want to go through each character. And when you did complete the game with a boss character, you got a generic ending just showing them conquering the world, so all of them, including Bison, Balrog and Sagat. There was a little story towards it, but it wasn't as good as the endings. I think they could have done something there. Then on to Sagat, the last boss in the original Street Fighter. Now I didn't play the original Street Fighter at the time, so I was none the wiser. I just thought he was in this. I'm pretty much glad that I didn't play Street Fighter, the first one at the time. And no one really remembered it was just Street Fighter 2, and they kept that for years. And too right they should have done, because it was good. Still is to this day. And then on to Bison. And before we go there, let me just show you something. Do you remember on the continue screen where you were rushing to put more money into the machine so you didn't die, so you could continue your streak? The characters had animations when they were losing. As the countdown was going down, you would see them sort of getting faster and panicking, and it would make it more intense. I noticed that as a kid playing it in the arcade, because obviously I lost a lot. Then I noticed it was in the Championship Edition, and yes, I'm mentioning that one even though this is a Street Fighter 2 Turbo Random Stories. But in the Super Nintendo, it didn't exist. There was no movements, no panic. And another thing about Championship Edition, I loved it. It had the intro. It looked the same. I know it isn't, but it was good enough. and you saw the building go right to the top of the skyscraper to see Street Fighter 2, just like the arcades. And come on, that's what we wanted it to be, like the arcade version. It even had hyper mode, which you could turn the stars up to 10 when you originally had to use a cheat to do that on the SNES version. Anyway, on to Bison. A well-deserved title of last boss. Playing this on hard, he is extremely hard. It took me quite a few tries to beat him. I tried multiple characters, but then I wanted to complete it with one character. You just got to be very quick. He jumps a lot too, and you can never understand or never predict what he's going to do next. It's always different, or I could never learn a pattern. And there you are, your first ending if you tried endings. Every character has an ending, minus the boss characters having that same ending. But this was great. You got to know a bit about the characters on a personal level, so you got to see what their lives were like and what they did. It wasn't just a fighting game after that. That was such a good idea to add that into the game, and I think it was one of the first fighting games that added endings, or I could be wrong, I probably am. It was only as I got older I realised Street Fighter was a tournament, and I liked the endings once they beat Bison. They all had their little tweaks towards them, and I love it how this turns into a photograph. So they got married and lived happily ever after. I'm not into fairy tales, but it was nice seeing as your fighting character got a good life at the end and you got to see it as an ending. That was great. Every character. Ryu and Ken's is my favourite, and I think everyone loves Ryu's ending for a number of reasons. I can watch it to this day every day. The music makes me feel kind of sad. A fighter that fights always, and he's only fighting. He'll fight your nan. He keeps walking, searching for the next battle. And it kind of makes you feel sorry for him, like he has no one, but then he's a loner, he doesn't want anyone. It's all about the battle. You get to know him more as you get older and play more of the games, which is good, but this scene here in the arcades looks slightly better, but this version's fine. I loved it and I still love it to this day. The music that it plays just cheers me up. It makes me feel happy. A lot of people feel sad. I wouldn't cry over a game, but I just like it. Every ending made you feel like it was for something. There was a good reason to complete it, so you wanted to find out what the rest was. And I did. In a matter of 3 days, I got through every ending of every character. Started to learn the moves on a magazine. Completing the game on hard, you get this little credit roll with all the characters fighting. Now it always makes me a bit sad and very nostalgic when I hear this music playing, always, just to see them fighting, and it's kind of like it's friendly on this part of the game when you're actually watching it. It's like they're not really fighting, they're sparring, and I loved it. And I like it that Street Fighter's still around to this day. Not many franchises can claim to be as good as they was back then. Street Fighter 4 did well because it kept the same roots. Again, they're doing that spin-off thing where they make the same game with a different number or the same number and a few different words. But they are good and are worth it. And I'm even talking about Street Fighter Cross Tekken. I played a lot of that. I mean, I'm looking to play Street Fighter 4 online more and get better at it, just because it's a good game. I think Street Fighters are well balanced. I know there's other fighting games out there like Tekken that are very balanced and very serious on the professional fighting circuit that there is out there, but I never wanted it for that. I just wanted it to play with friends and have a good time. And I'm not saying I am stuck in the past or anything, but playing games like this still make me happy. I'll play them any day. The replay value on these are high always for me, because I'll play them even today. Recording this video, I decided to complete it 4 times and it was good. It wasn't boring, it wasn't a task, it was good. A lot of memories come back, and I can think of what I was thinking back when I was a kid when I played this. I can even taste what I had for dinner. It's that weird. I guess nostalgia creeps up on you like that, and it does it to everyone, and it makes you feel in a good, comfortable position. But yeah, if you're ever thinking of playing Street Fighter, try the SNES version or on MAME, or there is a few versions you can get. I'm not sure if you can still get the Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting on the Xbox 360 anymore. I'm not too sure, but if you can, give it a go. I've never had the game on full stars, the 10 stars, because I always found it too fast. But this is a perfect game and I think everyone loves it. Anyway, I've talked rubbish too much, but it was just something I wanted to share with you. And who knows, I might even make another one about a game probably Mortal Kombat, I'm not too sure. But I'm going to leave you with the rest of the credits, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment and let me know what you thought, or what other game you think I should do, if you actually made it this far. See ya, bye.